Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to something I don't think I ever thought I'd be saying when we started this podcast. Welcome to the review of season 9 of Dexter, aka Dexter New Blood. They keep saying it's not a new season, it's a new show, but okay. All right, sure, Jan. But I am the Bay Harbor Butcher, Trasnell, and I'm joined by.
The Dark Passenger, Kirklin Patzer.
And finally, the freshly bald.
Hello, Dexter Morgan, Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about some more newscasts because we were so busy with shaving Taylor's head. We also shaved Jessica's head that we forgot to give away the shirt that for people donating. So we're going to do that on Friday's newscast. We've got 2 newscasts this week. Wednesday, it's going to be Taylor and Kirkland. And then Friday for the live, obviously, they drop the next day in the podcast feeds. We're going to be Disney Plus Day. Could be a bunch of big stuff. But this is the last week that I'll be shutting us out until next year. Just a big thank you to everybody because we had a goal of $2,500 and we raised $3,331. Almost 1,000 to our goal. We did 1,000 more than last year. Fast. We just hit a bunch of records. Go check out the stream. I'm also going to be putting a press release later this week. But as always, for anybody that did participate this weekend, a big thank you because we're still tired. We're literally recording this the same day that we did the charity stream. A little shell shocked, but I think I've had multiple people text me like, "Wow, I can't believe that like you guys did that, like us, little old us, and some of the other people that helped us out, and we're very lucky." So. Yeah, as always, we don't have too much to promote now. Like I was saying off air, Phantom's done, Extra Life is done. Now we just got some movies news. But Taylor, where can they find that all when it happens?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. And be sure to check us out on our Facebook because we'll have a Christmas poll that will be popping off soon.
Yeah, we got to make that roster. And yeah, just go down the links below. You can find everything from the audio to the video feeds, whatever you like, wherever you listen to. Please rate, review, subscribe, hit a bell for notifications, all that jazz. And if you want the best listening experience and also support us, head over to Patreon, get ad-free exclusive early episodes. The more you support us, the more content we can create. As you see, we've been putting out tons of stuff. I guess this is the first time we can promote this. Go check out me and Kirkland's Eternals review. Obviously, it's a very much talked about movie. One of us thought it was okay, and one of us gave it a big fail. So go find out, and that's a rarity when it comes to MCU movies. So go tune out, or if you watch a 24-hour stream, you may got a spoiler on that. And and Manscaped. We'll be talking about it more later on this week. Tomorrow there'll be a nice, cool promo image dropping of Taylor showing off some goods. But Manscaped. Get 20% off and worldwide free shipping using our code GVPOD. GVPOD. Now we're in November. We're in the thick of people are starting to do that Christmas shopping. You want a present. We were talking about this with Saris yesterday. He's like, oh, or with even Amanda, like, perfect gift for him, Manscaped, because everybody needs to use this. Whether you're a guy and you want to be using it on yourself, or a lady you want your guy to be using it on himself, go get it. We've talked about this past. We all love it. Lots of great products there. Multiple great products there. I've already just bought another shaver as well. So go do that. Take care of your family jewels with Manscaped, and help us out too in the process. So that code's going to be live until November 15th. So you got till then. All right, Dexter New Blood. So this is very interesting, obviously. So you can go back. I did a retrospective for every season, reviewed every season, but this is a show that we had a finale almost 10 years ago that you could argue is maybe the biggest, most controversial, aka maybe flop of finale, right? It was one of those, Dexter's the lumberjack. All these years of like where are we going, what we doing, and this is how we ended. And now, a few months ago, I guess it was a year ago now, they announced, hey, we're doing a new season of Dexter. It's going to be a continuation. And they've all kind of walked it back and be like, yeah, we knew that, okay, it was a anticlimactic ending. It was unsatisfying. So we want to give this character the send off. So we got 10 episodes. Michael C. Hall's back with some of the cast, but obviously the other big thing was Clyde Phillips, who had only done season 1 to 4, kind of the golden years, is back. As if you watch the credits of this show, his name is all over the fucking place because they're really trying to be like, hey, Clyde Phillips is back. So Kirk Patzer, I'm going to throw to you because you're somebody that you never finished the last season because
That's
you
right.
just heard of the trash fire it was. So, and obviously you've heard of everything that happens about the things, and people, if you, it's tough because this I don't know, like we've not done a TV show review where it's in the middle. Like we're always like it's always new. So we will be talking about spoilers for the other seasons like openly right now. So if this is your first time in Dexter and you don't want spoilers, this is not the place. So Kirkland, the free reign is yours. What did you think about the show of Dexter? And now what have you thought about Dexter New Blood coming back?
Yeah, so like many, I absolutely loved like the early seasons of Dexter. It was one of those shows I just couldn't put it down. I had to keep just watching and wanting to know more. I loved the character of Dexter, Michael C. Hall's character, but also just all the side characters that got added. They were just so unique, whether it was Dokes, Angel, like just all the side characters. I forget like the sex joke guy, but he was funny
Masuka.
too. Yeah, Masuka, that's right. But it got pretty tough near the end. As Travis mentioned, I never actually finished the last season. I thought I was on the second last season, but I was talking to someone at work about it, and I definitely did finish the second last one and started the last season, and I just couldn't make it through. And I was told what happened. That was good enough for me. I didn't have to, sit down for an hour per episode just to get to a point that I know was going to happen for something that was already like I knew it was going to be unsatisfying, so there's no point to just sit through that. But I was really excited about this revival. You said season 9, but it's technically not season 9, right? It's a whole new revival. Yeah.
Not according to Crave.
Fuck Crave.
We'll talk about that after 9. We'll talk about that after 9.
But yeah, no, I was just excited hearing that it was Clyde Phillips coming back, especially because he was the one that did first 4 seasons, I believe, right?
1 to 4, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's in my opinion, and I feel like many others, that's like the prime era of the show.
Oh yeah. So
I was just really excited to just get again Michael C. Hall back in that character, and I don't know, just jump back into this world. I think it's one of those things that I kind of assumed it was just gonna be dead, especially like the way the show ended. But this happens. Maybe Hannibal revival isn't out of the question. Who knows? I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but
yeah,
never
the
thought I'd
difference
be
is
here.
Dexter was one of the most popular shows of all time. Where Hannibal, people are just like, they made a Hannibal TV show.
Yeah. Well, it's funny with Dexter too, because I never really watched it like as it was coming out. I watched it just from word of mouth from friends, like, "Oh, you've never seen Dexter? You got to watch this." And then, watched it later on. I mean, it's nice that was the case because they will just binge it. I didn't have to wait week by week, so that's always nice. And but yeah, no, that was my little Dexter recap. And for I don't know, am I already giving my? I can't remember the question.
What do you think about this episode? Non-spoiler thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah,
we were all back to.
This guy and his mic keeps muting.
Oh boy!
But I think I understood what he was trying to ask. I had lots of fun with this episode. It was quite longer than I was expecting.
I think Travis is officially passed out.
He hasn't slept yet since Saturday morning. Fuck, I don't know. All the days are blending together when you've been up as long as we were. But yeah, no, I really liked this episode. It was longer than I was expecting. I was expecting like a 40-minute or something, maybe 42, but this was like pretty much a full hour, which I was kind of surprised about. But honestly, the pacing was good. It didn't feel like it was slogging. There was some moments where I felt like it was just okay. I've seen all this stuff from the trailer. Like I'm just waiting for something new to happen, and it's not really like a hit against the episode because I mean you got to promote it in some way, shape, or form. And the things I did see in the trailer, I was really excited for, but it was just I think it could have been more more surprising on some reveals that happened if they just left it out of the trailer. But there's nothing I can do about that now. So going in with this episode, I loved all the music in it. I thought it was so fun. There were certain scenes that I was like, I had to like kind of tell myself that I was watching Dexter because it just seemed like such a different character. I mean, his name's now Lindsay, not Dexter Morgan, so he's like just portraying a different individual. So that's it was fun though. Like honestly, all that stuff was really fun. And then I thought it was a good introduction to where he is, the new setting, the new players, like who he's going to be dealing with. And yeah, I thought it was a good first episode overall. Nothing too spectacular, like just blew my mind, but it definitely wasn't a bad episode. I think it was a good, like, I don't know if you'd call it a pilot episode because it's not technically a brand new show. It's the first episode in the revival. So Yeah, I'm excited to talk about some spoiler stuff.
What did Shay think about it for not seeing it like any? Because it's Kirkland's girlfriend has watched the show like this Dexter New Blood season 1 episode 1, but not seeing a single frame of any other Dexter.
She actually didn't because, as I was alluding to, I had major issues
Crave.
with my Crave, so I was forced to watch this on my iPad,
Damn.
or Shay's iPad rather. And she's like, "Well, I'll just read my book. I don't want to like huddle over the iPad and watch this with you." So, God, I fucking hate Crave sometimes. That is just their interface, like on the TV, is just so brutal. And I don't know why it didn't just load this new episode in there. I was refreshing constantly, it wasn't in there. Go on my phone. Oh, it's right there. I don't have like an Apple TV or smartphone though, so I couldn't just like shoot it to it. But yeah, I don't want to rant about that right now. So I watched on my own on an iPad, and it was good.
Would have been a good case study. So Taylorfield, well, same thing, same question. History of Dexter, and what do you think of this episode?
Oh gosh, my history with Dexter. I mean, what year I started binging, I couldn't tell you. I just know that it came recommended to me, and it probably would have been when season 5 or 6 was running.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was back when they were actually on Netflix at the time.
Yeah, that's when I watched
So
it.
it was a long time ago. And yeah, I got into it and I was hooked. I binged as much as I could up to like the point in time that they had the episodes released. And then when I go over to my dad's on the weekends, like, okay, like here, we're gonna watch this show. It's great. He got hooked, so I binged it all over again up to as far as we could, and then waiting for like season, I think 7, 8, and then
And now 9.
yeah. So that happened to those end seasons and whatnot, and I tend to agree. I think those first core seasons were so good for me. I think my favorite season of all time is just that season 1. I just don't think it can be matched in my opinion, just because I love just how even the finale of that first season was just great. Like I felt like I was in the crowd cheering him on. Like it was just so good. But the characters, like you guys pinpointed again, like Masuka, I used to listen to like his laugh reels all the time because his laugh is so freaking funny and iconic. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's a great show. It's so fantastic, and just to have us now in this continuing series, it's crazy and it's surreal, and it was just hard to believe. And I'm with you, Kirkland. Getting it to start up on Crave was a gong show. It was shitty. Me and Madison huddled up on my iPhone and watched the episode on there. So,
do you not have a screen mirroring thing either on your TV?
I do, but it only works with Chromecast, and I use it's like a Android TV or whatever it is, not a Google TV.
Really?
So,
Wow.
or it's all backwards.
Thank you, Sony.
But yeah, the episode overall, I think it was good. You definitely, I think you said this, Kirkland, it has a lot of stuff from the trailers that we kind of like were expecting, I think, in this first episode, which isn't as you said, like a point against it, but it made it a little slow for me. I'm not gonna lie, after being awake for 25 hours, it really was a fucking effort to stay awake. But that's not a nudge against the episode. It's just like, okay, I kind of know what scenes are what that we're getting here, which isn't a terrible thing, but it had a lot of good surprises in it, and it definitely jumped into some key moments that I didn't think we were gonna get in this stage of the game. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, obviously I won't go on too long because I would say go back to my Dexter 1 retrospective. I kind of set the table in plastic wrapping of how I felt about the show. But the quick version is, if you never listened to that, is Dexter was my all-time favorite show for a very long time. And then those seasons slowly took it down, and then Breaking Bad came out, and Breaking Bad and Dexter ended relatively at the same time. I remember just seeing one of the greatest finales of all time, and then seeing one of the worst finales of all time in the matter of like a month span. And it was a whole wild run. And it's something that I appreciate that they obviously Showcase wants to make money, but I appreciate too they just have kind of went, you know what? Yeah, we should run it back. Like that, like it's fine to admit you made a mistake or something was bad because they get to do a layup. And especially, as I've always said before, Clyde not being there was the biggest part. The fact that we had lost him. So the fact that he's back, and I do agree with you guys that I feel like It is a predictable episode, but for me in like the best way possible. Like I absolutely like right away it feels very much like when I watched Force Awakens and I was like, man, this feels like Star Wars. Now, this feels very different than Dexter, like the other seasons, not only just because we're in a different setting, but just even the humor, the pacing of the episode. We'll get into spoilers, but there's just something about where I feel like this is kind of the setup episode where it's like, yeah, we saw some of this in the trailer and we kind of know some of the beats, but we kind of know like this has to get us going on our journey. And I'm very excited to see like once we're past like episode 2 or 3, I'm very interested to see where we're gonna go because I think they've opened up a lot of doors already. I agree with Taylor that yeah, 10 episodes is a lot, but I appreciate that. I not worried, but I was like, okay, there's certain things that I think won't even happen till like episode 2, maybe even 3. Like I feel like we're gonna take our time with things, and I feel like they take their time enough, but then they start getting in the nitty gritty of it, pretty well paced and well fast. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. This for me was pretty much, barring a little special effects, a perfect episode for me, like a perfect episode for what the ground like work is here. Because at the end of the day, the last season or the show, it sucked as far as the finale, right? But if you take about how we got there, take all that out, the kind of concept of Dexter is on the run, living a new life. That's intriguing already. So that's a good thing. Like they have a show and they have an idea that it's like, okay, we have lots to play with, and they are playing with lots. And yeah, I think this was for me like a as a hardcore Dexter fan was a home run. And it feels so odd because I used to do this. I was someone that's been watching it live since week 2 of season 1 because I heard all about this first episode of Dexter and I watched like holy shit. So it's just so funny that like 10 years ago, even before then, like I was talking about this Emily, like the finale of Dexter happened, and then I went to a party because I was single. It's like how where I am in my life now. It's single now, 3 kids and fiance. But I still felt that rush. There's no IMDb boards to go to, so you guys are my IMDb boards to talk to. But right away, I was jumping on YouTube. I was looking for next year's or next week's promo, which I did find, and it has me and Dexter, like I said, it has just a hold on me as far as Breaking Bad. I think is my favorite show. It's the best show, but there was just something about Dexter that I just absolutely loved, and I'm hoping if the rest of the season can be this quality, I think we can at least get at least a good ending opposed to what we got before. So, anything else non-spoilers before we want to get into this?
Let's jump into it.
All right, we're gonna jump into it. So we're gonna take our first ad break, and we will be right back. And we are back. So, I don't I don't know where to start with this.
Oh, I know where to start.
Oh, he's going.
Perfect. Let's do it. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say the quietness of this episode. Boom. The lack of his dark passenger speaking to him until the very end, I thought that was peak. I loved it because throughout all of this time when he was quiet, I felt like I was kind of saying what he would be saying in my mind in certain moments, and I loved how they managed to kind of, as an avid Dexter fan like all of us, like I'm sure it was the same for you, the show kind of tricked your mind into thinking like, oh, we know what he's probably going to be saying or what he would be saying in the scene. And then when the dark passenger clicks at the end and like again, hello Dexter Morgan, that was kick ass. The score kicked in through the credits, like, oh, we're back in this is great, and that's going to create more dynamic obviously with him and Ghost Deborah. So
yeah, I think that was a really good choice. There's even something I really like that was the guy Adam, the shitty guy that he ended up killing. Was that his name?
Matt.
Matt,
Was it
yeah.
Matt? Okay, thank you. So there was one moment where he was getting the gun for the first time, and Matt said something kind of like shady or questionable, and then they shoot They should say shoot Dexter. I shouldn't say that. They do. They just the scene is on just Dexter behind the desk, and it's like 15 seconds, and there's no dialogue whatsoever. It's just on Michael C. Hall like reacting, but it's like very awkward. And it's like, in my opinion, it's showing that in any other time in the show before, it's like, oh, you'd have seen of Michael C. Hall, then you have the narration, but it wasn't going on. It was just him at the desk, like moving around, and it was just quiet. And it was like, this is weird. Nothing's really happening. But it's like, oh, they're kind of like showing like, oh, this is where we would put the dark pasture speak, but it's not happening. It's not there right now. And yeah, I agree with you. That for me was like not obviously near the hype level, but like that Cap catch a Mjolnir of just like when he hits him with that gun and that voice. I haven't done this in a while. It's like, fuck, we're back. Like, here we go. Like, the Dark Pasture is back in the seat. Now, that's going to lead to some bad stuff. But I think that was a perfect choice because like the whole show, it has songs in it, but it doesn't really have a score. There's lots of times where it's just Dexter and like
Mhm.
at work, in the wilderness, in his car. It's just it's just Jim, right? It's just you're sitting with, and it's just like you're waiting. It's like you're at a surprise party and you know the person's gonna walk through the door and you're all waiting to say surprise. But you're like, when they gonna get through that door? When they gonna get through that door? And you're just waiting and waiting. And when that gun hit his head, it was like, oh man. And it was fantastic. I got more to say about that, but yeah, Kirkland, I assume you're
Yeah.
agreeing with us on this
No,
choice.
100%. I thought, like, at first I didn't notice it. I was just like, "This is such a quiet episode. This is so strange." But
Yeah.
then, yeah, I like remembered just like the dialogue that he would normally be having, like with himself as the Dark Pastor, and it was such a clever usage of just having it away because it would make sense, right? He hasn't killed anyone in basically 10 years.
Mhm.
He's all about his routines now. He had Deb to like remind him about that fact, and it was just such a clever detail. I love too, like Travis, you mentioned there was no score really. It would just like sometimes it would shift like a really like chipper song, and then it would just go like
Yes.
blank, and it's just like him walking. And
Yeah.
then sometimes there'll be like maybe a song playing. I'm thinking of specifically the moment when he's delivering like the butcher knife to the butcher. And
Mhm.
I mean, at first you don't really know what's going on, and then he just sees like the blood, and it just gets like really ominous and like zooms in on him, and then it's like
Yeah.
just remember what this guy does, like you just like but also from his perspective, I guess it's like just a trigger or like remembering a different time of his life when he was just dealing with blood all the time, his day job and his night job, and
Well,
then it would just cut back, and then he's just like Tim Lindsay, is that his name? I forget
Jim
already.
Lindsay.
Tim Lindsay,
It's
that's right.
it's spared off the writer. That's the writer. The writer's name is Jeff Lindsay, who wrote the books, but still,
Okay.
it's inspired by that. Yeah, but I even like it's kind of what we've talked about in superhero stuff and this kind of trope because like the Dark Passion in a way became like a superhero villain sort of route. But I love that when he is obviously we knew about this in trailers, but he's dating the sheriff of the town and everything like that. And when he goes to pick her up for they're gonna go line dancing, there's all like these signs to like get him back into it. Like they're talking about Adam and like, oh yeah, he's a good guy. Like, what would it cause that? And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just here to pick up whoever. And then just off the side, they're having this conversation of like, no, he has no priors. Oh, well, wait a sec. Well, he had this and he had this and everything like that. And it's just like he's trying to get Ab, and then he goes line dancing, and then with his girlfriend, they're talking at the table, and she's like, yeah, the stuff he gets away with, and he's just like, you're off the clock. Like, let's not worry about like he is constantly like he's doing everything in his power to avoid even getting a sniff of that lifestyle. Unfortunately, he goes to that fucking party, and that really puts him over the edge because he gets the whole like story laid out of how he wouldn't like Adam was doing the chicken game, but he was just being reckless. And once that, and it's such a cool scene because you have a guy, Dick Face, you have a guy who is getting doing all these drugs and doing cocaine. And it's almost in the same way, like him doing drugs and talking is fueling like Dexter's addiction at the same time because he's just getting these ideas and just more and he's just being fed and everything like that. And it's just I loved the progression of okay, he's a normal guy, he's working at his job, he's fishing to just little things keep happening, little signs, little things like even just him being followed starts to like trigger stuff in his brain of like the old days, right? And I thought the build up to him getting back to that point of doing the kill was really well done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like that's basically what the episode was, right? It was
Mm.
explaining the setting, these new characters, and then also just I mean, I had a feeling he was gonna kill someone or like end with him like about to kill someone at the end of the episode. But I thought it was just such a perfect way of like getting him back in the swing of things. I think at first I was like, okay, like it's kind of convenient. It's just been 10 years and then he just hasn't killed anyone and he's just been doing his routine. But I think I was able to just not focus on it too much. And I think the explanation of him like finding like a lover, you know, with like the chief and just his
Mhm.
routine, like I think it was Deb that like just focus on your routine, right? And
Yeah.
then because it makes sense. Like he needs something to do, and then like you see his work routine, but also his home routine, whether he's just like constantly doing things and just keeping
Yeah.
his mind going. But I just love the transition or like the progression of the episode. It's just like hinting towards the old Dexter, and then obviously what happens at the end. But yeah, no, it was really really good first episode.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure he was gonna kill someone in the first episode. That's what I was saying on Suppose I thought they might wait from 2 to 3. You know, it's like, and
Yeah.
that was the fun thing we were talking about before. It's like, do we get the old opening? And we didn't. We got like a Mission Impossible type of opening where they showed scenes from the episode about like that's about to happen and stuff. So I do wonder if we will get it next season, some sort of start because he's like back. But it's one of these things of like, yeah, same things like, yeah, okay, 10 years, of course. Now we're meeting like this is the day where everything's gonna go to shit. But at the same time, with only being 10 episodes, it's like I'd rather us get to that point. Even then, it was a longer episode. So I feel like they're like, okay, we're gonna try to like let's spin this out for as long as we can. Like as long, and I even thought that when he knocked him out, the episode might just end there, and we might not even get the kill in this episode. But I like that we got everything. I love that. Like he hasn't done it in 10 years, and he even says that in his brain, everything like that. But it feels like he still was like always ready to do it because he had like
Yeah,
the
all the
plastic.
supplies. Yeah.
He had everything like just in case I do break, I'm good to go here. And I really appreciated that. And I loved like the set of the kill room and the kill room. I absolutely love because that's one of the most like unique, cool things about Dexter is him, you know, that's the always thing I said in the retro is like it's not in an action scene where it's like, oh, you have to fight someone and then you just kill them, it's over. With his antagonist, he always gets this moment where they're sit down on this table and they get to have this conversation about morality or their lives and stuff like that. And those kill rooms can always been like it's him being scary or it's him being funny or it's him trying to look at something deeper in himself. This kill room had everything. Like just that moment where he's like, raw, and he's like scaring him. Like he played like that's the parts where it's like, yeah, he's a fucked up guy, you know, and just the crescendo of I love because I was always wondering about this because in the show he talks about blood so much. And when he finally stabbed him for that final kill, I love that they just sat on him, just like looking at the wound for an uncomfortable amount of time. Where it's just like my worry was he'd stab and go, and I felt like they did a really good job of showing like it, you know. Unfortunately, it would be like an addict using a drug after 10 years or something like that. But Taylor, were you surprised that Adam got it this episode? Do you think he
You
was
mean
gonna
Matt?
wait? No, Matt. I've been calling Adam this whole time. Fuck. I don't know why I think he's Adam. I must have heard. Oh, I know why I think he's Adam. It's from a cooking show. Matt, did you think he was gonna bite the dust this episode? Or do you think he was gonna make it for one more?
I really didn't think they were actually going to kill anyone in this episode. I thought that they were going to hold off and just kind of get you a little bit more connected to the characters before going that route. But as soon as we got that moment of that really iffy special effects deer
Yeah.
buck, I thought, okay, this is like a classic cliche moment where like this is literally Iron Giants where they're playing with the deer and then like boom, the deer gets shot. And sure enough, it happened. And it just I liked it because I couldn't predict what Dexter was going to do in this scenario with Matt. I thought, is he going to have like friends around or something like that, like what's going to go down? But no, like he immediately goes into his mode, like cuts the deer's throat, spills the blood to cover the evidence. Like it's just so on point. And when he gets him in the room, you're right, he's got his killing room all prepped, the supply is good to go. And Madison's probably wondering why I was laughing at that scene, but it's like, yeah, you said it, he's got it already just in case he had a brief relapse. So when he straps him down, has that intimate moment with him, I loved that. I was just feeling so familiar and just like a little bit new at the same time. And when he broke the lantern and he just like forged his own, like his trophy, and I'm just kind of smirking thinking, oh, here he goes, he's in it. Like this is like that the camera angle showing like the broken glass of his trophy, it just felt like it was familiar. It felt like old school, like rustic, like wow, this is like the serial killer's gone through so much shit and here he is back at it like a decade later. It just felt so crazy.
That was so good when he's like, "Oh, you're a serial killer." He's like, "Well, I used to be a serial killer, but I guess like I still kind of am like it never left me and everything like that." And it was really interesting, and it's funny because we got that line in the trailer, but to see what it's paired with, that he took the trophy, but then he looked at the trophy and realized he didn't need it, and he just tossed it. And he says that I'm an evolved monster, and that's what's gonna be interesting to see. K, like obviously he's gonna fall back into his things. I'm gonna talk about this too because he's just like, oh, and I can help Harrison. If you've watched Dexter before, anytime you know Dexter's like, oh, I'm gonna help something, he always ruins it. It always goes to shit. So he's just in this vicious cycle. What?
Deb even said it.
Yeah. Rita LaGuardia. But it's every season he's like, I made a mistake. Here, I'll fix it. It's like, no, you can't. Like, and that's what I've said before. This character, he does. For me, he deserves prison or death because he's a reckless character. But it is gonna be interesting, CK, with these new people in his life and just something like the trophy not keeping it. what, like, why does he not feel that need anymore? Because there's a huge moment in season 7 where, because LaGuardia's onto him, he takes his trophies and he burns them, and it pains him to do it. He's like literally emotional, like burning his trophies, but now he's like, no, I don't need that. And it's the other thing I just want to say too is, like, I love that the killing of that buck or whatever, that animal, deer, whatever it is, to me was like the last part of him jumping over, because it's like he has this fucking routine where every day he gets his gun, he gets his gear, and he runs the wood, and he's gonna
Fucking
shoot this
sprints.
animal. Oh yeah, he was running. He's gonna shoot this animal, and he doesn't. And it's kind of like this animal staying alive is the full-on symbolization, everything like put into whatever in his body and his mind for I will not kill is put into this animal. So he has that scene where he walks up, he pets it, and obviously I think we all knew, okay, at least I knew it's gonna get shot right here, it's gonna happen. It's just, but to me, that symbolization of the fact that he won't kill this animal is almost like, you know what, this is stopping me. If I won't kill this animal, I'm fine. But the fact that someone else killed it, it was like, okay, well, that this was the one thing keeping me going. He even says that, like, you killed my deer. It's just like,
Yeah.
and it was strange to see Dexter have a farm and be kind with animals, because in the first few seasons they set up like he was a classic serial killer who experimented on animals and dogs and stuff. But here he is, like, being very friendly with goats and stuff. So it's very interesting, like the new layers he has going on.
Yeah, and like even he drops that line to, I think it was to Matt, like, I haven't killed an animal since I was a teenager, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen him kill those animals and as a teenager, not in the classical way of like a hunter would, but more serial killer route. I found it rather funny actually how, like, Matt was literally just hunting by himself in the woods. I feel like if anything, he would have had like 8 dude bros with him, just like
It's a big
slam and bruise.
coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah, big coinky dink, but nonetheless, it got us there. And it was also like you mentioned how that animal was like the last thing kind of holding him on to his routine. I couldn't help but think of Hannibal again, how like this animal is like the
Yes.
complete opposite of the Hannibal one, how it's like black, like raven feather type stag. Here we get the white one, but it just happened to be, you know, the person that he basically hates the most in this town, the person that's like he's been thinking about killing for, especially now he knows about that he was the
He's
reason for
getting
the
all this
boat
evidence.
accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's this guy that killed his deer. It's like everything was lining up. It's just like, I don't know, call it fate. He's destined to go back to his ways. And I thought it was a good full circle, because as soon as the character was introduced, I'm like, hey, this is gonna be the guy who pops his cherry again. This is gonna be his kill. Like, you
Dexter's
can just
killing this
tell.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Me and Emily said the same thing. Oh, this guy's done. Like right
Yeah.
away when you meet him, it's just like him and that rich businessman they introduced too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's fucking done, you know?
Yeah, well, it's like this guy's such a prick, like such an asshole,
Yeah.
and then, you know, like his rule, it's got to be someone bad, like, you know, and then he had a record or something. It was like FBI flagged. It's like, oh, okay, here we go. Within the first 5 minutes of meeting this guy, I know that this guy's gonna die. But I wasn't really expecting, because I mentioned I thought there might be a kill in it, but like Travis said, I thought it was gonna end with him like knocking him out, like you know, like when he shoots the buck and then he just like smacks him in the face,
Yeah.
just knocks him out, and then like that's where the episode kind of ends. And then I don't know, I felt like in the moment I still kind of thought he was gonna be like, I don't know, trying to fix the situation.
Yeah, because he
and
could easily
not
walk it back, have been like, "Hey, I got mad because the guy almost killed me, so I knocked him."
Yeah,
Like, the
absolutely.
cops he could easily wrote that off of like they were like, "Why did you shoot this deer if he was right there? Like, that's
Mhm.
really dangerous." So he could have easily wrote and said, "Hey, I was just fucking pissed. I'm sorry." And I thought for a second when he was looking around, I thought he was gonna not go up, but then he started slicing that deer's neck. I was like, "Uh-oh, it's over
It's
for
got a
Matt."
plan.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, absolutely. But no, yeah, you just mentioned his like routine of he's basically edging himself, right? Like he's got his finger on the
100%.
trigger with this
Yeah.
animal and it just doesn't pull it. Just doing that every day. Hilarious. He
Well,
just finds the exact same buck in the
yeah.
woods. Again, another eye rolling moment, but I can let that go.
Well, and it's interesting, and that's where it's a good thing that they can, like we've seen with other sequels before, is take some of the bad stuff and kind of make it good. You and I talked about this with like No Time to Die with Spectre. Deb dying in that last season was a little anticlimactic and it wasn't done the greatest, but they can use this as like Deb is the ultra you screwed up by, doing what you do. So it's like one, it's like, yeah, for his well-being he's trying not to kill, but also he seems like he does care about people. We've established on the show that he can grow to care them. So I'm sure he cares about his girlfriend and her daughter now. And it's this thing of like, it's not like it's not just you putting yourself at risk. You getting back in this lifestyle endangers everyone around you. And that's why I like that. It's like he's constantly trying not to get there, and he's being pretty responsible. And see, again, we move forward, but it's like he did this for 10 years. He did this for over a decade. And that's why I I really like what they're doing with Deborah, because I thought, okay, her being a ghost, that's a classic move. It's just a layup, right? He sees ghosts. Deborah's, it makes sense for him to talk to her and stuff like that. But she's acting very aggressive to him, but also like very creepily. Like there's that moment when they just keep cutting the scenes, and she's like in a chair in the bed, caressing his arm. She's like, "You're doing so good." You do like he has like such a different feeling. It's like Deborah is actually not Deborah. It's just, again, like Dexter, it's just who he's envisioning. I need Deborah to act like this so she will stop me from killing, and
Yeah.
I was just expecting her to be kind of like Harry, of just like, oh, talking here and there. At first she was, but like I said, that dynamic shifted, and how she acted was different, and we've never seen Deb like act like this before. So I really like everything what they're doing with Deb. And even there's that one moment where it was heartbreaking, but he burns that one photo he has of him and Harrison. But the weird thing is, the first shot is of Deborah standing by that fire in the coat, and then when they go up, it's Dexter then, and she was in his. So it's like, it's not that it's just like it's Dexter and Deborah's with him. Sometimes Deborah is in place of Dexter, and I'm very fascinated to see what they're going to come to as a conclusion. Obviously, like, she's dead. I don't think that dream sequence was needed of her in the water and that monster pulling her down.
That
That
was
was a little,
hilarious.
yeah, that was a little. I won't say cringy, but a little like, I don't know if we need this. But Taylor, how are you feeling on this Deborah dynamic now? Because we knew she was coming back, but I was actually same thing. I was surprised. Me and Emily were talking about that. I thought it might be till episode 2, or I thought she was going to come back and he was about to kill someone, and she was going to be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" She did say that, but then he still went through with it. So I was a little off. So what are you feeling about Ghost Deborah so far, replacing Ghost Harry?
Yeah, it's parallels, right? I mean, you have Harry, who didn't want Dexter to tell anyone about the secrets. You have Ghost Harry, who was alongside his dark passenger, kind of coaxing him along on what to do. And now you have Ghost Deborah, who is completely the opposite of just trying to like get him to do the right thing. Like, you haven't killed in 10 years. Like, I'm so happy that you haven't. Like, and I don't doubt that there's going to be conflict now between him
Oh yeah.
and her. So it'll be a
I'm not
very,
listening to you
very
anymore.
interesting
When
dynamic.
he got in
Oh,
that car,
absolutely.
yeah, it was like fuck. And the best thing is too. Again, this is why like the times where Dexter's been written well is he's like a very narcissistic, selfish character. And Deborah's literally in this bed telling him like, "I'm so happy I died. Like if you would have died, I would have been lost. But when I died, look at you. You've grown so better. You've created a life for yourself." And it's like, you don't know that. Like he might have an idea, but it's just him reassuring himself all the time that he's doing the right thing. And he's there, like he rarely is. He rarely actually is doing the right thing. Other than, okay, yeah, sure, he's killing people that are bad if you're gonna have to kill people. But again, you see, even after these 10 years, he's still like a narcissistic guy who would just like, oh, to fit his narrative to make it work for him.
Absolutely.
Kirk, what do you feel about Ghost Deborah?
Yeah, like you were saying earlier, I liked her usage. I mean, we knew she was going to be in it just from trailers and probably casting and all that stuff, but I'm glad it wasn't overdone, because her character was one of the ones that I really hated like in the later episodes that I was watching in Dexter, and I wasn't wanting more of that. I'm glad that, like what you mentioned, it's not Deborah from Miami. It's Deborah what Dexter needs her to be, like in these moments. Or I don't even know if it's necessarily needs her to. Yeah, I guess it would be that, because she was like the angel on his shoulder, kind of saying like, "Don't go to Harrison. Like, just let him go. You're gonna ruin his life if you bring him in."
Yeah.
And then same thing with just sticking to his routine and everything like that. You said, I don't know if I'd call it cringy. That dream sequence was a little cringy for me. I knew it was a dream sequence. Like, as soon as he wakes up and like they see his little fishing bob thing, I'm like, oh my god, Deborah's gonna be in that water. I swear to God, it's gonna happen.
Really? You got that?
Yeah, and then she pops up, and then I'm just like giggling, and then this fucking like creature from the Black Lagoon comes up behind her.
It's the Dark Pasture. I think that's what they're trying to say.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
And I swear to
I
God,
did not catch
right?
that. So there you
I
go.
swear to well, because he's like the dark
It
figure.
makes
I think
sense. No,
that's
it makes
yeah.
sense.
I swear to God, writers, though, please use that character wisely. I do not need a scene of Michael C. Hall and that dark passenger like in their mind fighting or staring each other down.
Get
But
Gabriel Malignant set up
pretty
here.
much, or like it's very much like what Hannibal did. So it's like be careful because at one point, like we used to see Hannibal, who was like a deer like Hannibal figure. So there's things you can do and there's things you can't do. Just be careful that see what I thought was gonna be nice. I thought he was gonna find one of those missing girls, and that was gonna get him on the track of because it's so good. Like he's had this whole conversation about Matt. He's trying to avoid it, and then she brings him into this office with like 12 missing girls, and he's same thing. He's just like, he's just always awkwardly like just trying to avoid, like, I don't want to look at this. I don't he's like, oh, I'm sure you'll figure it out. And then he like leaves. But that's what I thought it was gonna be. I thought he was gonna find one of the bodies, and that would like set him over the edge of like, okay, somebody's killing these people. I gotta get on the track record. So I didn't see that coming. So
Yeah, but everything else with Deb, I liked, and like you mentioned at the end when he's basically just going full Dexter Morgan again. He's like talking to himself. He's got his dark passenger in his mind. Deb's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "What did he say? Like whatever the
he
fuck
said,
I
I'm
want
not
to do."
listening to you
Basically.
anymore. And
Oh,
then
I'm
he
not
just got in the
listening.
car and left. It's like,
Yeah,
whoa.
and like I feel like you could easily just be like, okay, well now he's gonna be listening to his dark passenger, not like Deb as like the angel on his shoulder. But I'm excited to just see more of her usage going forward because I think there will be a lot of just conflict within
Oh
Dexter
yeah.
going forward on like am I really past that, or like can I get past this, or is this just who I am? Especially it seemed like he was really happy with that cop lady, right? So I and especially like with her daughter and then the whole missing girls thing. I'm scared. I feel like that daughter is gonna somehow get brought into this whole missing girls thing. Just from the usage of her and how it seemed attached. Like the chief was to this case. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because it's just missing girls. She is a daughter, similar age. So I feel like I don't know, something will happen there where Dexter will put like the needs of someone else, which is the chief, like over himself of just killing people. I don't know.
See, I'm the reverse where I think that the daughter's just gonna be tied with that businessman, and that's how we're gonna get Dexter killing that businessman. I think that girl at the bar, that the chief, I gotta find out the chief's actual name, that she bought the food for, she's gonna be one of those people. Oh, he didn't like the show. He's just gone. No, he's gonna. I think that girl at the bar is gonna be one of the people that goes missing because it feels like that's what's gonna happen. Where they're gonna take people like her, where she's broke, she could barely afford eating a burger, she doesn't have much contacts, whatnot. For a second, and maybe I'm probably completely wrong, Taylor. I
Yeah.
for a second thought they were gonna have that be Aster, the Rita's kid there, because the way they had her hair parted and it was darker, I was like, oh shit, they're red herring us. Like Harrison's not the big thing, like Asher's here too. But then it's just a girl who's just like, okay, she needs help. So I think she's gonna be with the girl that goes missing, that one that the chief was helping at the bar.
I didn't get the sense of Aster at all, although that's an interesting just thought perspective. I took it as okay, she's being set up here. She's gonna be the next victim of this serial killer, and that's gonna rope in Dexter back into his ways. But clearly not. Clearly they're saving that for, whatever longer story that they have been wrote. And I think, the majority of this season is probably, if I had to think about it, is going to be him obviously tracking down that killer. And I feel like he's generally going to like rope Harrison into that.
Well, I got more to ask about that, but
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Let's take our second ad break here, and then we'll maybe get to that very soon. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So what I want to ask you guys was, so we have three things going right now. You have Matt's dad, who, if you guys don't know, that's gonna be Clancy Brown. That's who the one of the big bads is. So you have him coming. You got this businessman that they've set up, and they got the missing girls coming. Do you think the missing girls is separate from those two entities, or do you think it's tied to one? I think if it's tied to one, it'd probably be the Clancy Brown. I think the businessman might be someone else, but we don't know. So do you think that those three things are three separate issues, or there will be some interlink between some of them or all of them? Kirklin Pass for GeekVerse podcast. Show your true quality.
Show my quality. I feel like at least one of them is going to be involved with it. I had like an inkling it would be the character of Edward. That's like the billionaire dude that like just like shut down the diner for his business meeting. Really weird play, but because it's like a power move.
Yeah, just rent a section of the restaurant, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
Giving you all coffees and all this stuff, but just
And,
the
like,
looks he
when
was giving
she
Audrey, I was like,
Yeah.
this guy probably kills girls of that age. But also, like, would a billionaire be doing that? It seems like he's pretty busy, but I
Well,
don't know.
that take, I don't know if it was so dramatic. It was just keep doing, and I thought what she was gonna do was throw the coffee in his face.
So did I. Yeah.
And to me, that's more warrant that look. But when she just dumped on the ground, he looked like he was ready to fucking kill her right there. And I was
My
like,
fucking coffee.
yeah, I was like, this actor played it that look a little too hard. So that's where I was like, okay, like maybe there is a way where maybe these girls are someone that had like wanted to shut him down or had stuff or who knows what it could be. But yeah, I got that inkling too, but I guess I'm more going towards Clancy Brown and Matt because it's just like, well, why were they down there? Like, what were they doing? What were the rest of his friends doing? And Matt
Yeah.
seems like he's already a shady guy, but lots of times in Dexter in the kill room, a character would reveal something and then that would kind of go forward in the future. He didn't bring up like when Dexter specifically asked him like, hey, I want to know about something. They could have had him talk about the girls, even though he wanted the boat information. That would have been that, oh, okay, you know more. Matt didn't say anything like that. He didn't even hint about the girls. So that's where, again, they might not be connected to Clancy Brown at all.
Yeah, I'm really excited to just see Clancy Brown going forward and just see what his character's like. Yeah, I mean, I would assume as much when Matt was like threatening Dexter. My father's gonna bring down the world on you. Whatever
my
the fuck his
father's
line
love.
was. Slaps him. So yeah, like it's tough for me to think that he's tied up with the girls just because all the dialogue that we hear is like, oh, everyone in the town loves him, which again, a lot of killers have had that description on them.
Yes.
But
Trinity.
Just that look that I got from the billionaire dude towards the one girl that was fitting the description of the other missing ones. And you brought up like it's possible that she had like, or the girls had like, I don't know, information that would like bring down the company, possibly, something along those lines. And it would make sense because everyone in that rally was pretty much, there might have been a guy or two in there, but it was mostly just girls that fit the description of all the missing girls. So there's got to be some ties in there. And one thing I'll quickly mention before I pass it on to Taylor is when he was doing like the kill room, and like that's basically when they do all their confessions. Part of me was like not completely sold that Dexter was back, especially when Matt is like saying like, oh, my family was terrible and all these things. And then Dexter kind of like restrains himself for a second. I thought for a moment Dexter would have been like, oh, this guy's actually not as bad as I thought he is. He's just like a victim.
He's just
but
like me.
But then in that line, he's just like, you blame this on your parents? You're so pathetic. And I was just like, oh, okay. No, he's definitely killing this guy.
Even though, again, he's a fucking hypocrite because all his problems are based on his parents. Because in the next scene, he's like, I lost my parents too.
Yeah, well, that's why I thought they were going to be... I thought they were going to be connecting or something in that sense. And then I'm like, hey, how is he going to not kill this guy going forward? But then again, that was answered 30 seconds later.
Because in Dexter's mind, he looks at Matt and then he looks at himself. He goes, oh, he lost his parents and I lost my parents, but I'm the version that's doing the right way because I'm like avenging.
Right.
But it's like, no, dude. Because that, like, we'll talk about it. But that revelation that he has talking with Matt is what convinces him to go back to Harrison, which we're going to talk about. But because he has that line of, well, I almost grew up without parents too, but I had hair and he adopted me and I had a father. So when he's talking at the end about like, oh, I had a father and Harrison will have a father, I'm going to fix this and I'm going to make sure I'm there for him. If he has that, and that happens a lot on this show, that he just has this epiphany and it's just like kind of a coincidental, but it's the fact that he looked at Adam and he looked at Matt and he saw like, hey, with no parents, look what this guy became. What could happen to Harrison? And he took it upon himself to now he went back to reveal Harrison. No, I am Dexter Morgan. So I know we're gonna get further into that. So Taylor, what do you feel about the three? Like I said, the cases we got going on: missing girls, Matt and Clancy Brown, and then you got the billionaire guy.
So yeah, obviously the billionaire whole setup, there's definitely something going on there. Again, when the helicopter's flying over, it's like, oh, the rich people are coming in to their estates or whatever you want to call it. The Matt scenario, I think that was just like a gateway drug. I think that was just to shoehorn into the story just to give Dexter a little bit of depth to go after Harrison, get back into his killing addiction, and a few other things into the story. And it worked. It worked great. So now we have it setting up for him being on the run, I think hiding from the dad, and then him also trying to follow through with his addiction and track down, which I'm assuming this billionaire serial killer dealing with these women protesting and stuff like that. And it's going to get personal because obviously the chief, his girlfriend's daughter, is now involved making a stand. So it's just going to set up all these different things and dynamics that are going to unfold and really get interesting and juicy.
Yeah, there's lots. I was gonna say anything to show because I was gonna leave Harrison for last. Anything else to show in general the town? I like the chief, but I'm looking forward to more. Like, I want that conversation of like, well, hey, where were you before this? You know, like I want her to start asking, and not like in a like why aren't you telling me stuff? Just in a way of like talking about life, and I want to see about his questions. Like, I want to see if she asks like there's this great moment where they try to like it's for a joke, but his boss at the whatever store, they're talking about like, oh, they're gonna be adopting and stuff like that, and he has a husband, and they're kind of playing off like it's gonna be a kid, but it ends up being a dog. But he's like, oh yeah, like, I couldn't imagine. So far, he sounds like that from what he said to people tangentially that he's never had like he doesn't have a child. So that's why I'm interested. Same thing when he's talked to her. Has he ever said that he's been married before? Has he said there's a reason he doesn't have kids? He does not want them. So I'm excited to see like what is the life that he's told everybody else. And I like the chief so far. I liked like the pullover scene that led to the sex scene. That was fun. It seems like she's a nice person. But like I want I'm excited to get a bit more of them. And I think that could happen when he starts missing these events because it felt very uncharacteristic in that moment. She's like, oh yeah, Jim's not gonna make it. And it's never like seems like he's been pretty on par with this stuff. So I like her so far, and I want to see more. So I kind of have I'm holding judgment, and then but the rest of the city stuff, like all the comedy stuff, like with the donuts, with people, the police station, like all that city stuff, really work. We saw him like go Hawks, and he does like the crow and stuff, like all that, like seeing Dexter being put in these situations was like, oh man, like we know who he is. So majority of stuff with the cover of the town stuff, I really liked.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love just introducing all of it was in the trailer, but just him, like you mentioned, the Go Hawks. He was talking to that Bishop, the dude that came out of like the general store, the Spanish guy. Like it was just like again meeting all these side characters. I'm like, it's so funny, like the way that they see Jim Lindsay, but like the viewer, like we know what he actually is, but they just have a completely different idea of what this character is. You're talking about the cop. I really, really like her, and I think she's introduced in that way that you're supposed to like her. You know, she's looking out for that girl, like suggesting that she stays in that shelter, just like paying for her meal and all these things. Like she just seems like such like a mother type character, very different from like a hard ass than like LaGuerta was in my mind. I can't quite remember what she was like in there. I just haven't seen Dexter in a very long time.
She was okay, here's the best way. She was known as the bitch character, as far as like, you get in my way, I'm gonna take you down, where this seems like she's very diplomatic, and like you said, they set her up to you don't want anything bad to happen to her.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's funny because I was going through your retros for Dexter season 1 and further, and in that one, like how she kind of has like a schoolgirl crush on Dexter, and then here he's like again just dating the chief. But like obviously I saw that pullover scene in the trailer. I wasn't expecting it to go on like a full-on sex scene. I'm like, that is just a bold play. This must be like a quiet town that the chief of police can just smash some dude on the side of the highway. Again, they're in a relationship, but still.
Well, but that's why I like when you talk about the quiet town, other than the missing girls thing, when they are calling the chief while the sex scene's going on and they're listing all the crimes that have happened that day, they're all like super minor, like not like, oh, the sheep got out and it's gonna like cause a traffic, like all these crimes, and it's like this feels like Dexter picked this town for that reason. He picked somewhere where shit doesn't go bad, where he's not going to pick up on a killer. And that's where it's like for the first time in 10 years, there's some bad stuff happening in this town. And it's like, that's like triggering his lizard brain to be like, oh, I could make a difference. I could help these people. So I think that scene was good for like for them, but also set up that this town, like this stuff, like at one point Dexter's like, hey, have we talked about like the stop sign yet? Have we fixed the stop sign? Like it's so minuscule what's going on in this town until Matt takes that shot at that buck.
And the other thing, or the last thing I'll say on the cop is, like you're mentioning, just it seems out of character for Jim to be missing like these events, and then he
Mhm.
had a quick excuse. Fox got in the hen house. It's kind of a mess here. It's kind of
Yeah.
funny line that he dropped, and like you're mentioning like the dialogue that he had with Fred Jr., like the shop owner of the hunting store, of
Mhm.
just like never really had a family or anything like that. I'm so intrigued on how he tackles this whole Harrison living with him deal, and how Harrison knows that he's Dexter, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
is he going to tell Harrison to just, I mean, I guess we're going to talk about Harrison in a bit here, but just the dynamic of how the chief is going to be looking at Dexter going forward, with now he has someone living with him, and maybe he's just a little less reliable. And I hope they do her well. Like she's a smart cop. She's not just this dumb police that has like, rose tinted glasses on this guy that she's just dating and smashed on the side of the road.
Well, knowing Dexter, it might not end well for her.
It might not end well for
Not
her.
just because Rita, but just like people that always get close to him. It's not going to go well. But yeah,
Yeah.
anything to add on the chief and anything else from the townspeople or some of
I have one
those
more thing to go
situations?
before
Oh,
he
okay.
goes. So
Well,
very,
you know
very
what,
quickly,
Taylor? Sit back and wait.
Logan, I believe that was the character's name. He was the cop that was coming in with like those pies, and then
Yes,
Dexter
those
helped
pies
him
smell
out.
good.
It's so funny because in my mind I'm like, oh, this is like the new like Sergeant Dokes, but he's just a completely opposite like personality. He's super
Yeah.
friendly to Dexter and just like very like charismatic with him, and it's just like, he's like his head shaved. It's kind of similar, not as jacked as Dokes was, but just
No, Doke's a
similar type
machine.
of like role. He's a
Yeah.
cop. I'm just gonna call him a sergeant because there you go. It'll be even that more much more similar. But I like laugh when he was just such an opposite character what Dokes is, when he's like, "Hey, freak," all like the derogatory terms that he would call Dexter, and then we get this guy. He's just super friendly. And it's just like, man, what a different vibe.
Mhm. And I think that's again, it shows like why he might pick in this town, because these are people that aren't dealing with like Dokes, big town Miami, but also like a war vet. He's done all these where these people, like even the chief, it's like not taking anything from away from her, but it's just like, has she had to deal with like really crazy shit yet? Because it might
Yeah.
not have happened, like has she had to deal with a bunch of missing girls and things? So I don't know. See how I feel. Oh, the worst time. He takes the yawn right when we throw it to him.
Oh, I finished my yawn. Uh, yeah. As far as the townspeople go, they're all setting up the different characters, and everyone just seems to know exactly what's going on in this small scale town.
Yeah.
So
Which is not
it's
good for Dexter.
no, no, not at all. It's super close knit, tight to the chest. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic unfolds with things start going on and everything like that, and how much is he going to attribute to this new serial killer. And when I say that, I mean how many of his wrongdoings is he going to blame on the serial killer, or blame on
Yeah.
other people in this town, I guess you could say. So that'll be interesting. But
What if the big twist is all those missing girls is Dexter was actually killing people the whole time, and it was like a Fight
That'd be
Club
so
situation,
dark.
or he didn't
that'd be
know,
really
and he's like,
fucked.
because there was one season with the Doomsday Killer with Travis Hanks where he didn't know he was the killer, and Dexter's like, I could never end up like that. Like this guy's like sick and everything. Imagine that if he was actually killing these girls the whole time, and it's because like he blocked it out of his mind because he just needed to get a kill in, and he thought he didn't kill anybody. That's not gonna happen. I don't think so. But man, that would be fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
The
yeah,
chief you were saying.
Chief.
Yeah.
Chief. I don't see it going very well for her because she's very, very close to Dexter. And like you said, yeah, the close characters of Dexter usually don't pan out very successfully. So she's gonna suffer either at the hands of Dexter or at the hands of her daughter, being a target for this billionaire of some sort. So she's just literally between a rock and a hard place.
Well, you know who's in a walk in a hard place right now is Dexter Morgan, because his son is back on the scene, or is he? I don't know. It's so tough. So like as we talked about this even before the show was announced, like Revival. We always talk about like, oh, if they did that, like, what's the deal with Harrison? He's there similar as Dexter, right? Where it's like, what happened to that character? Last time we saw him, he was in Argentina with Hannah McKay. Hannah McKay got a shout out because Deborah was like, he's safe with Hannah, which is very strange. Not strange, but like I get, but she's like, nah, no one's really safe with Hannah. But still, he had I want to say really good scene. Dexter knows people are following him. There's that one point in the woods where he's like running around. That was kind of funny. But he goes in this house and they have this great scene. This is why like I want it to. There's parts of it I want it to be real because like you feel this emotion here of he gets in here and you have this kid who's like listing all these facts about a guy he's looking for, and you just have Deborah right beside him like Dokes, Rita, LaGuerta, me. Like she's just listing up all these people he's fucked over, accidentally, but still just the way he does. And just that scene where he has to be like, oh no, like you got the wrong guy, just got like a recognizable face. Like I'll take you to like a homeless shelter, I'll give you money for a bus and stuff like that. But he sends him off on his way. But the problem is later on when we get back to that bus scene, really great when he sits down, like, oh, once you're, from Miami, it's always cold here. I'm Dexter, and they have this nice little exchange back and forth. But when he walked to him in the bus and he had that hand code or just that code, everybody else got on that fucking bus. And for me, it's going to be very tough. And I don't know if they're willing or they're actually doing this on purpose just to fuck with us. And he is just real. But it's so tough for me. Like, I want to buy in these scenes. And these scenes are well acted and well written because either way, it's going to be like Deborah, right? Where it's from Dexter's point of view. And he's just like working through it in his own mind with a ghost Harrison or a fake Harrison. But until I see that Harrison interact with anybody else on Dexter, I'm calling bullshit. Because even then, they try to do that thing where they show like Harrison get off the truck. Dexter could easily just fucking imagine, like, oh, what if Harrison got off a truck? And what if he was following me? Like, I will not believe it until, and I hope next episode happens. I hope the chief walks in and he's like, oh, yeah, this is just like a hitchhiker I found, and blah, blah, blah. This is, and they like hide him. I think he'll like go send him in a hotel or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm liking and loving all the scenes. I can't wait for next week to hear their conversations. I hope we find out what's going on with Hannah too. Like, is Hannah alive? Is she in prison? Is she dead? Like, does she know he's here? I don't know. But again, I'm gonna have my guard up until I see him talk to somebody. So Kirklin Patzer, what do you think's going on here with Harrison?
That's an interesting take. I like it. I think we might have talked about that in like the trailer breakdown news episode.
Mhm.
Kind of just forgot about it going into this one, but it wouldn't be the weirdest thing that I've seen happen in Dexter, and it actually would have been rather fitting. He's already speaking to just Ghost all the time, whether it's Deb, Harry, John Lithgow. I think is
he's
set to
coming
come
back.
Yeah,
which
so,
I guarantee you there'll if John Lithgow's coming back, I bet there'll be other characters too popping in.
yeah,
So.
no, absolutely. So it's interesting because I was pitching like, how is the chief gonna respond to dealing with like this guy just living with someone? God, I think you might have won me over. I think I'm like 60% in the camp that he's not actually there.
Well, because oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it would be weird for Dexter to just manifest an idea of what he thinks Harrison would look like because he hasn't seen him at this age, obviously. So if he's just in his mind, I know it can, like, they can write it that way, but I don't know. I feel like it's tough. Sorry,
Well, again,
I'm seeing Hello Dexter Morgan Taylor Field doze off here.
Well, again,
so fucking like
this is the last topic. Don't worry, Ted. But like, but that's the thing to me. Where for me, Dex being selfish, everything of Harrison in the past, that photo, he's completely blonde hair. But when he meets Harrison, oh look, he has hair just like Dexter. And to me, that's the thing Dexter would do. And like I said, my pitch of like there's like I go back and forth of like what there's, and sounds bad, but for me, this pilot is almost everything I wanted. But the pitch is either he's a ghost, and when Dexter meets Harrison, either Harrison just hates his guts, like a real Harrison, or what I think would be actually tragic, what I thought about tonight is imagine if you were to find this all out and then like they get informed, like, no, like Harrison like died years ago, like he killed himself, or like he like imagine that sort of blow, or is he actually real? And you could easily write that off of like eventually he could tell the chief, like, yeah, you know what, I lied to you. I did have a kid, and not the whole story, but just like, and he found me. I just still don't know how I believe like Hannah and him saw news that he died on a boat. And then all of a sudden Harrison, which we don't know his background, started digging into him and being able to find where Dexter Morgan is, who's been hiding for 10 years. I just don't buy that. And I hope that if he is a ghost, it leads to something, like I said, something where he does meet a real Harrison or some conclusion. But because I just don't want to be, oh, he's just a ghost. Like that we get some big reveal he was never there and they don't touch upon it again. So I think you're in the cameo of not believing Harrison's real. Just this episode. I think next episode is the big swing. Because if it's another full episode of him not meeting anybody, I think it's really like, okay, there's the bullshit here. Because right now he doesn't have to talk to people, but like Kirkland said, the Chief's gonna be coming around. People are gonna be seeing him. He can't just fucking hide this kid everywhere, especially it's a small town. So people are gonna be like, oh, who's this kid? Why is Jim with this kid? So where are you on this camp after seeing how they introduced Harrison? Which I'm happy they showed in the trailer. I'm happy we got that in this episode because I thought that was gonna be like 3 or 4 episodes in. I really did.
I really honestly thought that as well. I do think that, well, in our past conversations, I did kind of feel and have a hunch like, okay, maybe he is fake, maybe he's not real. I didn't really think about the hallucination. I thought more or less along the lines of maybe it was just a guy like imposing, or not imposing, but like imposter, pretending to be
Harrison. Wow,
I don't know,
what's
for
the
whatever
end game
reason.
here?
That's not what I was thinking. Like now, that's what I kind of an idea I was playing with initially when we saw the trailer at 1st with him. But I'm definitely much more inclined to lean on the side of it being a hallucination. He's just toying with it. Only time will tell. We need to see another episode or two to know, okay, what is going on. Because you're right, he can't be hiding around in the little fucking shack out back the whole time. So.
Because I guarantee, even then I said next episode, I guarantee next episode we won't get to know because he'll have that conversation, which I'm excited because I think we'll get some really juicy nuggets on both Dexter and Harrison. And like I said, Hannah. I think it's going to be good to see Dexter kind of put the mirror on himself to be like, why did you leave me? Why didn't you come and help me and all this sort of things? But I think he could easily, that'll happen. And then he'll just go put Harrison up in a hotel while the cops like look around the area because like they showed, and he even said this when he killed Matt. He's like, oh, I haven't done this while I'm a little messy. And we saw outside his cabin, he left some blood there. Like he's not the Dexter he used to be. So I feel like even next episode, Harrison could easily just be put up in a hotel room for a night, and we still may not get that interaction. So because that could just be Dexter buying a hotel, and in his mind, they already showed scenes, unlike the original series where he'd always be talking to the ghosts. They showed scenes where he be there talking, the ghost is there, they come back, and he's still talking, and there's no one there. And it just shows, oh, this guy's fucking crazy. Like there's no one actually there. So I think you could easily get that cut with Harrison going forward too.
Absolutely. And because I mean, when I was watching, I thought he was for sure real. I kind of forgot that we had that topic of conversation. Probably just sleep deprived these last couple of days. But it's because I was thinking that the plot of the season going forward is gonna be like, okay, he's obviously got to hide who he is, but I also felt like he's gonna be the new Harry. He's gonna be teaching Harrison all about the ways of just killing people. But then I'm like, that doesn't make any sense because the only reason Harry did that is because he was just so fucked up in the first place. He was literally just killing animals, and then Harry recognized that behavior and then was allowed, like, used it to meet a goal of like just targeting bad guys. But I'm like, that doesn't make sense because Harrison's not a bad guy. Like
and Dexter wouldn't know.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't know at all. So but it honestly, it makes a lot more sense, and that's why I said I'm probably 60% even more so that it is a ghost now, because I think that it's still going to be happening that way. Like he'll be the Harry, like this is what you do, and then he's like killing people, and like his son's gonna be right there, but he's literally just talking to himself, and he's just like in that room, and we'll probably get that scene later on when they like do reveal it is that case. You guys were mentioning you're glad that he was revealed in the first episode. I definitely am because that was one of like my least like excitement level of reveal. I worded that incorrectly, but just like like I saw him there and I'm like, okay, well, I know who this fucking kid is. I saw him in the trailer, so like because he's just lurking, and then like Dexter sees him a couple times in town, and then if you hadn't seen the trailer, you're like, who the fuck is this person that's just like lurking in the shadows? But because I knew it was Harrison, I'm like, this is just a lame reveal. I hope they actually like interact this episode, because if it's like, tune in next time to find out who this kid is, I already fucking know who this guy is. So totally makes sense that they did it that way. And again, just kudos to the makers for making that decision to reveal in the first episode.
And that's a good thing we don't know, because when we see the trailer, we go, oh man, they revealed Harrison. That's a big thing. But then when it's the end of episode 1, you're like, okay, that's why they did that, because it's not like it's not a big hanging fruit there. So yeah, it's interesting between the killers, between Dexter coming back, between the townspeople, and now with Harrison in there, and even Ghost Deborah. We got like 5 or 6 things that I'm very we have 5 or 6 things when there's other seasons of Dexter that didn't have one thing I'd be interested in, which is good, which is like a really
Yeah.
good thing. And this reminds me of the old seasons again already, where it's like we're talking about like all these different paths and like, okay. And you know, if Harrison's a ghost, then yeah, that might be a little predictable. And we may look at it and go, okay, they bungled that like maybe that wasn't the route to go, but I'm willing to let it play out because we still got 9 episodes, and I don't know if they'll all be like 57 minutes, but still, if they are, that's almost like a full 9 hours left. So lots of story to tell, and I'm just very curious if he ends up back in Miami somehow. Because
Yeah.
I would personally, I know it's, and they might not do it because it is like a new show, but I personally would like to see where's Batista, where's Masuka, where's Quinn, how would be their reaction if they were to find out Dexter's alive or stuff like that. Because we spent 8 years with those characters, so I do care about them. So.
Absolutely, I'd love to see them pop up again. I wanted to quickly mention something too. When
Mhm.
I was convinced that Harrison was real. Is on the IMDb they have like images from episode 3. I don't know why, just episode 3.
Yeah.
Smoke Signals is the title. Coming November 21st, but it's a
Cool.
photo of Audrey, I think is her name, the chief's daughter, and then beside her is Harrison, and it looks like Harrison's talking to her. So I'm like, okay, well obviously that's the
Really?
interaction. But in further observation, Audrey is just like looking forward. Like she's not actually looking at anything. So it's basically just Harrison like looking at her. So it could easily be like she doesn't see him, right? If you get a chance, go on the IMDb and you'll see it on there.
Oh, I'm
And
gonna.
it's
Well, and that's the thing. I think they tried to trick us with the bus stop to be like, oh, well, he's
yeah.
there around a bunch of people, but the second Dexter got there, all those people walked the fuck off. So it's like they're gonna try and do that. But again, I think by episode 3, if he's not interact with anybody, we're gonna know he's there. And that's the one problem, just like Doomsday, with that twist, and that's why it's a risk doing that. That twist could feel very lame when it's like, and he's not been here the whole time. Because if we all like, oh, we knew this, it's not gonna hit, and they did that in the show already once, it didn't hit. So if they do it again, I'll be like, why did you? So that's my only hope of why it's not maybe a ghost, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything lastly to shout out for this episode?
Oh, I don't think so. I really don't think I have anything. It's a great start. It's a really, really great start. A great, refreshing revitalization with familiarity and everything new. So that
There it is.
is a photo.
That's the
That's the
image.
photo of them together at like a car accident, it looks like. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's looking at her and she's looking for it. But trying to see like, is he like banged up? Well, yeah, I just want next. Imagine the first 5 minutes that cop comes in and just like, oh, who's this? And then right away, boom. Because if it's real, the stakes are like very much higher.
Oh
Or
yeah.
which I really don't want. I don't want some big twist later on that Dexter like imagine him interacting with people too. Don't do that shit. If you do that shit, that's the jumping the shark moment. Well, that's Fight Club though, right? Fight Club is him imagining Tyler Durden interacting with other people, but it was him the whole time. I really hope they don't go down that route. And I just feel like they got to be careful with the ghosts aspect. So, well, we'll be back next week for it's crazy to say, but a new episode of Dexter. Let us know Twitter, Facebook, the Discord, YouTube, anything. Let us know your theories. Let us know if you think you're right or wrong. If there's anything that leaks or spoilers, please don't tell us that. We don't want that. You know, S Bubs, you know, you're probably not a Dexter fan, but if you are, we don't want that. But anything like that, the picture's probably no, so that's fine. But any theories you have, what do you think? If you like the episode, let us know. Gentlemen, I'm excited to not see you for a few days as we, you know, spent a day together and we can all go get some sleep now. Thank you for being on this review. And I promise when you hear from all of us next, it'll not be boring.
Bye bye.
Oh well.